Thanks, King, Peace King, Love King. Um, it's an honor, it's a privilege to have the opportunity to actually sit down and chop it up with you. Um, as a listener, to sit here, not only conversing, but I want to expound upon the stories that follows you and the stories you're about to share pertaining to your experience as a so-called black man within a society that tends to debase the so-called black men and make them the enemy or the monster per se. That's that's how they have always viewed us. And we even gotten to the point where we view ourselves in this light. But you're an exceptional individual, you're an exceptional story, and I'm telling you from the bottom of my heart, it's a privilege to actually do this. And how you doing, King?
I am wonderful. I am super groovelistically fine. That's Parliament. If you don't know what that is, but I'm wonderful. I cannot complain, and I thank you for having me on your show. Yeah, I thank you
Amen.
for giving me the opportunity.
Hey, Mental Roller Deck is actually a platform for men, giving men the opportunity to not only speak forward and share their vulnerability and their experience, but it also give profound females the opportunity that wants to lift and elevate the black man up as well to share their opinions, and together we pretty much conjure a solution on moving forward and becoming greater within ourselves, because we start with the individual within the mirror versus trying to fix somebody else first when we're broken. um I was going over your story, and it indicated that you you met your beloved in 84. You you got married in 85. You want to expound upon that a little bit?
I sure do. Um, well, actually, I had met her years before that,
Okay.
um, but I ended up getting married to her in 1984, which was 1,000 years ago, and out of this union came a son. Now, prior to us having our son, as the story tells, uh, she had a son prior to that, and I stepped in those shoes to also be obligated to that son as well. But the focus was on my son because of the story. We had a son. It was truly one of the highlights of my life as a man and definitely as a father. Something that I didn't have a chance to experience or embrace as a youngster. And I had made it my point, I had made a vow and promise to God and to myself that I would never, ever duplicate what happened to me to any of my children. So along comes this son in 1985, and it was it was a joy, man. I mean, it was an experience that only a father could understand who have a child for the very first time. And it's my head went from here to here. And the fact that I now get a chance to experience fatherhood, that I now get a chance to be responsible for somebody, that I have a chance now to be obligated to somebody, that I now have a chance to walk a certain way and somebody is watching me. I got the chance to, for the first time, call myself Nelson L. Moody Sr. And and the overwhelmings of that just took me over and beyond what I ever expected as far as a father for the very first time.
And that's beautiful, man. It's yeah. I remember first time I saw my son, because I was the one that held him and just looked in his eyes, and he imprinted on me, man. I was like, wow, this is this is me. This
Hmm.
is me. But with you stating that he also went through some trials and some tribulations, and is with these trials that made you who you are. You know, you already had the grit, and I guess you didn't believe in quitting or giving up because you kept fighting. So tell us a little bit about what once you got married and what happened around 96.
Got you. Married for that period of time from 85 to 96. But prior to 96, you know, my marriage has started to crumble. The leaves on the tree started to fall apart. And one of the last resorts that I had was, I need to end this marriage. So I forgot what day it was. I believe it was like June time frame. Um, what I had started to do is what really nobody expects to do once to get married. You're supposed to be married for a long time, but I filed for divorce, and I went through probably no doubt to me one of the nastiest divorces as far as dealing with a child is concerned that I've ever in my life heard of. I went through things in the court system that I don't feel as though no man, no father that is actively involved in the child's life, and the mom knows it, should ever have went through what I went through. Uh, Started off with us just having just a mutual agreement. Him here today, he's with you tomorrow, and then in some way it got nasty, it got ugly as far as child support. Now, child support is something that I don't even speak about. I don't even talk about because child support is somebody else's issue to talk about. Whereas though with me, I strictly talk about the involvement of fathers. But I had got four different child support payments dealing with the same job. And I looked at that after the fact that they came in there and they tried to chop my head off. I had an attorney from the beginning who was, to me, she was nonchalant at my court case. I presented all kind of evidence to the court, um, an attempt at what would best suit my son, what was in his best interest based upon anything that I presented to him, my witnesses that I presented to him. It all started when in the court, our first court date, and I'm looking at a picture because I had two expert witnesses. The doctor testified on my behalf and let the courts know that it was me that she's seen for the past 10 years. She had never seen his mother before until that day. And his one of his teachers testified on my behalf to show that it was me that she saw in the school system. His mom had two witnesses, two of her girlfriends. One was an RN for the state of Maryland, and I'm building this all up to get into the, the, the main part. And one was a parent volunteer. We volunteered at the same school. Now, once this started, the um, the RN witness told the judge that Mr. Moody was a mean, cruel person. And I looked, I was like, wow. Then she went on to tell the judge that she observed me hitting my son in a high chair at 6 months old. And I
Wow.
looked at this, and my attorney looked at me like, "You did what?" The judge had orders. I was in the military. When my son was 6 months old, I was in Germany. I made a very sarcastic remark to the judge. She didn't like it. I said, "Your Honor, my arm must be awful long to smack my son in his head in the Atlantic Ocean. I was stationed in Erlangen, and to hit him in the back of his head." Not once did she say, "You know what? I have his orders that saying he wasn't nowhere near his son at 6 months old." I didn't see my son no more until 3 months later when he was 9 months when they came over to Germany because of the orders and all that stuff like that. The other witness told her that every time I saw Mr. Moody, he always hitting the son in the back of his head. And I'm like, again, my attorney, she looked at me. I don't know where this is coming from. This also witness testified to the court that she had never seen me in my son's school, only the mother. The judge had a letter from the principal of that school at that time in Baltimore stating that Mr. Moody volunteered in the school system. She also had certificates for about 4 years of me volunteering in Baltimore City Public Schools in front of her. Not once did she interject and say he has. So then they recalled the other witness up, which was the RN. The judge asked her, "When was the last time you saw Mr. Moody?" The RN said, "I haven't seen him in 5 years." In 5 years. Okay. Not once did the judge ask her, "If you haven't seen him in 5 years, how you know what kind of parent Mr. Moody is?" None of this happened.
So you weren't getting a fair shake. Pretty much, it was more so everybody was fixated on the fact that this alleged situation where you smacked your 6-month-old child. So all your evidence and truth just went out the window. They just looking at you as a so-called black man now that's abusive, basically.
It didn't mean nothing. At that time, I was a monster to my son. I was a monster. Now, through this interview here, if you feel me or hear me getting emotional, because I get emotional when I tell the story, um, they had me depicted as a 8 foot, 400 pound monster to my son. And I looked at them. At that point, my eyes was full of fire. And I'm a person where it takes a lot to get me even this much upset. But when you make allegations against me, that's not true. You know they're not true. Something is wrong. And then, like I said, the fact that the judge had all this information in front of her. I went a step further. Prior to this, I had wrote a letter to the commissioner of Baltimore City Police. I wrote a letter to Child Protective Service of Baltimore City and the Department of Social Service. And these letters were all basically stating that if you have any record of me being abusive to any child in this world, physically or any other type of abuse, produce it to the court. They all came back with, "There's never been anything on you ever about abusing a child." I see had to say this: the RN by law, she was supposed to have reported me to proper authorities.
Hmm.
At that time, I was working in law enforcement. They should have reported me to the proper authorities. Computer systems would have crossed, and I'd have lost my job
Hmm.
instantly.
So that didn't make sense.
It did no, no.
Yeah.
You're talking child abuse. So with
Yes.
all these allegations against me, I was like, wow, how can I get out of this? Now, remind you, my attorney was nonchalant throughout the whole court case. You know, given all the evidence, given all the proof, and she talked to these people, she she would have fiercely fought for me. But I don't know if the allegations got to her or if the intimidation of the opposing side got to her. And here to this day, this is 2020. No evidence, no proof, no facts, no documentation, nothing written on crayon or chalk in this world that you could ever find on me abusing any child in this
So
world.
so after these allegations and you witness these people that supposedly swore upon, took an oath per se to not only sit within a chair and lie and for your evidence to get thrown out the window, what what steps you took afterwards going forward?
After that, frustration kicked in, and I wasn't paying my attorney quick enough or fast enough. So she had to remove herself from the case.
Okay, so you lost your attorney.
And at that point, I will never forget it. I cried like a baby.
You thought it was over. That was it for you.
I was done. I stick a fork in me. I'm done. I'm toasted. And I said, wow, I need to do something because right now I don't have an attorney. And with everything against me, I need to figure out a way to get back. Number one, to prove that these allegations don't exist and never existed. But more importantly, to clear my name. I remember being in my house. I lived in Baltimore, like I said, on Chase Street. I lived in a three-story house. I was on the third floor in my room. I was talking to God and crying at the same time. And a voice came down, stop crying, get off your knees, go downtown to the courthouse the next day, put your name on the paperwork stating that you're representing yourself. I did all of that the next day with no clue on what to do, none whatsoever. I went to a law library, Mount Royal in Charles Street in Baltimore, University of Baltimore. In the librarian there showed me in 1 hour what family law attorneys learn in 4 years. She showed me in 1 hour. When she showed me that, I quickly learned. I read the books, I studied cases, I got cases compared to my cases, and I drew up information to now represent myself. And when I came to court, my eyes were always dotted and my T's were always crossed. And they looked at me like, wow. They looked at my spouse like, wow, he doing something or talking to somebody. So I went to the next step and I was proud and happy. And then I started fiercely digging in. I was like when you in the military and you're digging your foxhole and you're getting grounded so the enemy can't exactly find you. I was digging in deep.
You got to dig a certain way and make sure that if it rains, it doesn't affect you while you sleep as well and
Mhm.
stuff like that. So it's protected. So you gotta have a certain precision and certain way you dig that hole, so it
There
doesn't
you
harm
go.
you in the beginning. Okay, I
There you
got
go.
you. I got you.
And I dug it and I was able to see all around me. And I started shooting paperwork to them. In the military, we call it suppression fires, where though you constantly shooting and you keeping the enemy's head down.
Yeah.
By me doing that, I threw them off course because they was not expecting me to do this. From day one, I prepared myself to go to the Supreme Court if needed, not knowing that was going to happen. But let's take the back some. With all the allegations there and me starting to represent myself, I started seeing light. Because before I started representing myself, I didn't see no light at the end of the tunnel. I just knew I was done.
It's a
But I started
powerful thing. It's a powerful thing on doing the work. When you take action and the action is righteous, King,
hmm
there's no stopping you.
and it wasn't. I kept seeing that light. It kept opening up a little by little. Then I got to the point to where as though I was kind of playing a mind game with the attorneys. It was two attorneys going against me. And because I'm representing myself, I have one-on-one access to the judges. I have one-on-one access to the judges' chambers, along with the attorneys. So I started kind of like playing a game with them. Whatever they sent to me, I reversed it and I sent it back to them. And it got to the point to where as though that each judge I saw, I believe, a total of 7 judges
Man, this was a prolonged case. This was going for a while.
from 1996 to 2001. That's how long it went.
Wow.
But each time I got in front of a judge, the next judge seemed like they'd say to the next judge, "Look out! Nelson Moody Sr. is coming your way. He's representing yourself. He don't have no college degree. He only has a high school diploma, and he's a black man." That's the interpretation I got from all of them. Stop whatever he's doing, no matter what. But legally, they couldn't stop me because I showed them the law as it relates to my court case. You have to listen to me. You have to give me this type of thing. You have to allow me to modify this. You have to allow me to do this. You can't just stop me. And that infuriated not just the judges, not just the attorneys, but my son's mother as well. Because what they saw is this guy that's 5'3", 132 was not going to give up that easy. You guys just alleged that I was a child abuser. You alleged that I abused my child. You alleged that y'all started seeing this when he was 6 months old. You alleged that all this happened. I was always hitting on the back of his neck and the back of his head all the time. You alleged that I never come to the school. I never did this. I didn't support this. I didn't do this. But yet you have a witness that haven't seen me in 5 years?
That can vouch for her versus it doesn't make sense. So given the fact that you've seen 7 judges and you know the stigma, how they view you, basically, what happened next? Because from listening to the story, it sounds like there's coming a point where they're gonna get tired of you and they no longer want to.
They did get tired of me. They got tired of seeing me coming there prepared. I was always in a different suit, different tie, head tight. They couldn't stop me. And that made them mad because at that time I became a thorn in their butt. Again, no college education, none. But I knew the law that would allow me to say that, you know what, I could represent myself in court. And I did that well. And they didn't like it. I had some friends of mine that say, you know what, you can't keep doing that, man. Why are you doing that? Give up, give in. And I looked at him like, give up, give in.
That's not your friends, man.
You're not facing an allegation of child abuse. You're not facing the allegation. I'm facing the allegation. And I told that to some guys, they looked at me like, well, I'm not. But then when I looked at them and saw whose was who. Some of them weren't involved in their children's lives, so I discounted them. Some of them didn't believe that I could do it, so I discounted them out. A few believed in me, but as this was going on, they had tried to dismiss my case 1,000 times and deny it. But there's a court of appeal that they didn't know. Not just that, they didn't know the persistence of Nelson Moody Sr. I had to keep showing them. I had to keep showing them that you're not going to discount me for no allegation. Now, while this was going on, about 3 months after that, October the 3rd of 1996, I will never forget this. My son called me, well, by the way, of beepers. Back then we had the beepers.
I know about that. Okay.
Remember that?
Get the number, call it back.
And I called the number, which was his cousin, and come find out that the guy that she was dating assaulted our son. And his son threw a knife at my son. Police got involved, indicated child abuse. My son's mother and her boyfriend both were subsequently locked up.
Wow.
I had to take my son to the hospital. CPS got involved. Police, crime lab, the whole 9 yards. And as I'm telling you this still pissing me off, but I've always said that one day somebody somewhere in the mass is going to listen to my story and say that man had a problem. Nobody took care of it. The police department took pictures. My son still to this day, I know if you can see the book here, he still have a scar under his eye. You see that, Mark?
Can't see it prominently, but
okay. He still has that scar under his eye, and he still has a knot in the back of his head. The case was indicated child abuse. The mother gets to court, and she told the judge nothing happened. Nothing happened. She got to court on November 11th of 96. This happened October 3rd of 96. And when I got whiff of that, I was like, what? The case was null process. So I had to dig into the law library again to see what null process means. Null process means that we have enough evidence to convict you of a crime, but we won't. Again, I went ballistic on that. Wait a minute. You went to a different court and told the judges that this didn't happen, and they had the proof of it happening.
But here you are fighting an allegation. With the same situation.
The same situation.
With that you never did pretty much, but the opposite occurred. Wow. Wow.
So we got to court December the 4th of 96. And the story that she told the judge that we were just pushing and shoving. And then we stopped. I abruptly, out of order and out of line, said, Your Honor, that's not what the report says. You have a copy right there of the report. Indicated child abuse by a Baltimore City Police Department. And now they allow her to null process it. And now you in the court, you're not going to do nothing about it. The state law, and I gave them the law, that when a child is abused physically or sexually, that child's supposed to be taken away from the household. Child Protective Services is supposed to intervene in reference to what's in the child's best interest within 24 hours. None of this was done. That child was removed from the house. None of this was done. And I got more creative over that. And I'm still fighting the allegation. But here we have proof from the police department and from Child Protective Services that a child was physically abused.
How did this help your case, though? Knowing this and having that form of evidence, how did it help your case? And
It
did it
didn't help
help?
me.
It didn't help you.
It didn't, because at that time he already made that decision before this happened.
Oh, okay. So that's null and void evidence, basically.
It was null and void, but because it happened, it's supposed to have changed the circumstances of custody.
Yeah,
It's
because
supposed to,
if they would have followed to the T, you would have got custody.
on December 4th, 96. About that. And that was my argument from then on out. That's why I took my case to the Supreme Court of the United States.
You went to the
That's why I
Supreme Court.
started writing about it. I started documenting stuff because there's no way that you can tell me it's allegations of me physically hurting my son at 6 months old, but you have documentation from the police department and child protective services that my son was thrown up against the wall by his mother's boyfriend, and a knife was thrown and it cut him by the son of the boyfriend. Pictures, whole 9 yards. And you're going to discount that and have the allegations of me be stronger than that.
So what happened when you went to the Supreme Court?
Well, prior to Supreme Court, I had sent everything to Annapolis. I went through the Court of Appeals, to the Court of Special Appeals.
Okay.
And what they do is they listen first to see if your case will warrant them hearing it. So they kicked it back to the lower courts and told the courts that basically I had the legal right for you guys to hear my case. Because the whole thing was to silence me and keep me down to where do I just give up. So as it left Annapolis, Court of Appeals, Court of Special Appeals, I drove to Supreme Court. Now in the Supreme Court, I physically wasn't there. The Supreme Court hears corporate cases. The Supreme Court does not hear custody issues. But knowing that I took it that far and somebody responded to me made me feel good. I was on the Supreme Court steps. You remember that the part in Rocky where he goes up
Yeah.
the step in Philadelphia and he
Yeah.
do this?
Yeah.
I did that. And I felt good about myself because of the fact that I was able to legally prepare a brief for the Court of Appeals, Court of Special Appeals, and I was able to file a petition at the Supreme Court with everything done perfect. I's dotted and every T was crossed. I felt real good about that.
So what was the conclusion of the actual case?
Well, the conclusion was that we ended up getting joint custody.
Joint custody, and you were good with this.
No, I wasn't because of the allegations.
Okay,
I was
so
good prior to that, but then the allegations and then the evidence that child abuse occurred on your watch.
mm-hmm.
No.
Did you ever saw this coming? Because this is a woman you fell in love with, right? And this is a woman you got married to.
Mhm.
A fatherless father that desire within himself to do the moral ethic thing, to make sure his son has a father within the household. And the consistency was there, because how the hell you wasn't going to his school, but you were showing up in court every single day without fail, just to represent yourself and determined enough to fight where you fought, where so many men within the society would have quivered and say, okay, just put me on child support. And like, because that's what it is of today. Most of us as fathers don't fight long and hard enough for the prosperity of our children. And I understand how stereotypically it's set up. It's set up not in our favor. It's set up for us to fail, right? because
Mm-hmm.
the female automatically gets custody, right? And the man is just thrown on the back burner.
A lot of times.
So knowing you went through this and it concluded with you guys both getting custody, where was your mind frame at this point? I understand you said you weren't happy because you were deemed as a liar, pretty much, that you
Mm-hmm.
brought for harm to your child.
Mm-hmm.
Going forward as a man, how did it make you feel within yourself?
It made me feel furious. I was I was angry, I was mad, I was upset, but I remember what I said when I was 10 years old, that none of my children will be fatherless. So with that being said, I still remain in my son's life. Now it's funny and it's not funny because after they made these allegations about me, after they basically nailed me to a cross, a wall, after they basically defamed my character in court,
Mm-hmm.
the next day when my son was being dropped off, her son, which became our son, also came with them. But I told the mother, I said, he can come, but he gotta go with you. She said, why he can't stay with you now? I said, do you want your child around somebody who's abusive? She thought about that. She said, I didn't say, I said, no. Y'all said I was abusive to him. And also I used inappropriate behavior. Do you want your son around that? So my son walked inside the house and I explained to him because he was also there. I explained to him why I did what I just now did. The court, the judge talked to him in his judge's chambers. The
Mm-hmm.
judge talked to him for a while and he asked him about his preference of living. And he stated me. Now, my son wrote a letter of a nightmare that he had. And a nightmare that he had was that he was walking down Monument Street and out of nowhere, the boyfriend came and started attacking him.
He was traumatized.
Yeah,
He was
yeah.
traumatized.
Not just that, from October the 5th of 1996 to February the 12th. No, from October the 4th, 1996 into February the 14th, 1997. My son carried an army knife that I had to school and wherever he went to. He was caught in school by the police. The police called me. I came to school, had a meeting, the principal, the police, social worker, my son and I. Why are you carrying a knife? You know what he told them? To protect myself from my mother's boyfriend.
He was traumatized, man. And that's the thing with a lot of us men. We we go through a form of depression and traumas that nobody's unaware of. And
Mm-hmm.
when we tend to go in our relationship, the focus is more so on the partner. It's like we love the partner so much, right? We forgot
Mm-hmm.
about ourselves and not knowing that we're hurting. But through our actions, we display these hurts,
Mm-hmm.
even against our partners it has nothing to do with them, you know? And
Yep.
the first programming, I believe, come from the parents.
Oh yeah.
And we do this well because everything that was taught to us, we like to say, oh, we're not like our parents, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna do this different like our parents. But in actuality, we're just like our parents,
Yeah.
you know? And the more we fight to go against whatever our parents insinuates, we become our parents. and it's unconscious, through these traumas. And we have to speak, and somebody need to listen for us to get over these traumas and to improve ourselves, and
Yeah.
that's a perfect representation, him taking that knife to school and stating that. So now that you know that as a father, what was your next step? Because you don't want your son living in fear going forward.
Mm-hmm. Well, my my next step after that was to get with his mom,
Okay.
let her know, and of course the denial was there. But when I took him back to my house, he told me how he felt, what he was feeling. So I had to be that cushion, I had to be that sponge, I had to soak up everything, I had to soak up all his feelings, all his hurt, all his pain. At the same time, I had to reassure him that nobody's going to hurt you. You're going to be safe. Nobody's going to hurt you. Now he eventually um, ended up being a state champion 3 times, bulked up in weight, got strong. So him able to take care of his self wasn't big than expected. So I knew he could handle himself, but still the ultimate wasn't to challenge an adult. Now, if the adult comes back to you with bodily harm and I'm not around or there, then you have to do something to protect and defend yourself until you can get to somebody proper. But the mental anguish, the emotional anguish that I went through with that, it was it was up here. But just to hear him say that, to witness the police hearing that, and the principal hearing that, that was something. So I asked the school police, I said, well, why didn't you suspend him? Because according to guidelines, if you have a weapon in school, you're supposed to get suspended. And my thing with that was to, if you suspend him, I'll have documentation as to why he got suspended. Carrying a knife to protect himself.
Okay.
His answer for not suspending my son was, your son is a straight A student. He's in this program, he's in this program, he's in this. I looked at him and said, you know what? That be true. But he could have been a dead straight A student. He has a knife with him. You should have made a report. Now, because I'm a person of principle,
Mm-hmm.
I ended up filing a report on the school police for not doing what he's supposed to be doing.
So was it the accountability per se,
Yeah, yeah,
that so you wanted to not only hold the cop accountable, but also teach your son that form of accountability?
yeah, yeah. Because
Okay.
had you made that report would have been stronger for my case. This
See.
child was suspended from school, carrying one of his father's army knives to protect herself from mom's boyfriend.
Okay.
This is why we suspended him.
Got you. Got you. Got you.
But his stance was, I don't want to do that because your son is a straight A student. I don't care about him being a straight A student.
So now you're fighting. So listening to that part of what you just stated. So now you're fighting for full custody. Were you
After that,
fighting?
yeah, yeah,
Okay, because for that
yeah,
to make sense, I'm
yeah,
like, oh, he must be fighting for full
yeah,
custody. So in
yeah,
order, okay,
yeah,
it makes sense now. Okay,
yeah.
I'm sorry. Continue. Okay, it makes
Because,
sense.
because all this happened there. But
Okay,
with the documentation, that would have put more ammunition on my court case to show the judicial system what's in the best interest of my son. You have all these things going there. Been assaulted, thrown up against a wall, a knife thrown at him, a knot on his back of his head, and now you writing a report stating why you took the knife away from my son.
Okay, so
But
instead
because
of
you're
putting
afraid of
everything,
shooting, you didn't want to mess up his momentum. I don't care about his momentum. I need you to write why you took the knife away. And
it's
that
not
was
that
it.
you don't. It's not that you don't care. You care about his momentum because
Yeah,
you want him
yeah,
to thrive. So
yeah.
I just for the audience, because people tend to take stuff out of perspective. You do
Got
care for his momentum, but like at the same time, you were looking at it as a means to an end because you wanted to succeed his mom to be a full custody dad, you
legally,
know,
right, right,
legally. So
right.
as long as we got that into perspective.
And I'm glad you said it because on my talk show I
Yeah,
clarify things too. Yes, I don't mean to not block or not care about his straight A. I love that. He's been there, he's done that, got my support, boom, 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 boom. But
I got you.
if 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 you're focused on this versus something that he has a weapon,
Got you.
there's something wrong. And
I
it was
got
all
you.
about principle.
Did you ever win full custody?
No, we got joint custody.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
No, I remember you said that, but I thought you were going for full custody. Did you ever go back for full custody, or you still maintain the joint custody now or
Oh,
then?
back then we still maintain the
Okay.
joint custody. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
But
Um. So after that, what was the relationship like with your ex wife and child of your mom,
oh
child of your kids?
man, that thing was contentious. That thing was it was um it was nasty for quite some time, because of the fact that I'm still having in my mind that you guys accuse me as a as a father with inappropriate and abusive behavior on my son and child abuse.
So do you still feel that way now? How are you
Oh
feeling
no,
now? How
no,
have you
no,
how have you transitioned out of that?
no. Everybody grow.
Okay.
You grow. You grow, you heal, you change, you move on.
Okay.
As the time went on, um, her and the guy ended up getting married, and we fostered a relationship. Mom and I, every now and then we may call each other up and call up on Mother's Day. She come up on Father's Day, um, um, and our relationship is just as probably any other parent with older children are. I mean, I wouldn't call her today if she was down here and say, "Let's go to the movie." I
No,
wouldn't.
no, I get you, but people need to hear that, like, because us as men, and I went through this as well. Like
Hmm.
after a period of time, um, it it becomes disgusting. It
Yeah,
becomes a form of hate,
yeah,
and you forget that everybody hurts, and
yeah.
you forget that people make mistakes and
Hmm.
people transform. And for me, it's a little bit different because I have younger children, so
Hmm.
I look at I look at her as a queen and understand that if she is great,
Hmm.
my children is going to be great. So the thing for me is what I want to see of her, I have to create within myself. And I
Right.
also have to walk this
Hmm.
image, not
Hmm.
only talk about it, you
Hmm.
know, and you're a dad, so you can relate and you went
Yeah.
through these fights, and I still see you're upbeat, you're happy, but you're still fighting.
Hmm.
Um, you have written quite a few books. Would you like to tell tell everyone the title of these books and how they can obtain these books?
Well, yes, my first book is called When a Judge Can't Judge.
Okay.
My nightmare, the court system in Baltimore, Maryland. Then I followed up with a second book, When a Judge Can't Judge, Part to the Conclusion. All my books can be ordered at Barnes and Nobles, Amazon, Books a Million, or wherever books are sold, Author House. My third book is probably a um, a book that I've written. It's called Men Are Loving Caring Parents 2. I don't know if you can see
I can
that,
see the title. Okay.
but this book was written only for the sake of destroying the myth, destroying the misconception, destroying the disbelief that men are not parents. Men are loving, caring parents yesterday, today, and for the next 7 million years. And this book is nothing but a relationship about a father and his child while they're still in the womb, and as they're growing up, the involvement in education, their health, they talk to the sons about puberty, talk to girls about puberty, and it's just an all around book that shows that we're loving, caring parents.
I see you, man. I see you. I see you. I see videos of you actually combing your daughter's hair and so on. So you're still a single. You're still a single parent.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
And how is being a single parent in this day and age, especially with girls as well?
Mhm.
You know.
It's interesting that you put that especially for girls there. I have a joy, first of all, being a parent. But the single part of it is, and this is what I tell guys, I'm pretty much straightforward, and I'm gonna tell you what you need to hear. Guys have no problem talking to their sons about sex, puberty, and condoms, but they have an issue and they shy away when their girls are starting to develop and talk about bras and sanitary napkins and periods. And I tell guys that you can't back away from that because when your daughters go through puberty and she talks to you, that's a different type of bond. And when you reject that, your daughter will be um, what's the word? Your daughter will be apprehensive about talking to you about stuff. If you push her back and go talk to your mom when you visit her, go talk to your auntie, go talk to my girlfriend, the lady across the street, your daughter is going to look at you like you're pushing her away. And these are emotions going through her as she's growing up, as she develops. Remember, you're her first love. You're the one who validates her when she's an infant. So if you start pushing her away, to me, I tell guys it'll be one of the biggest mistakes you ever will make when raising your daughter. Because she will take that and she will say, you know what? He rejected me listening to me.
How
So I
many?
tell guys all the time, listen to them. It may be as some say, a nasty topic to talk about. No, it's natural for a girl when she gets a certain age to develop. It's natural for her to have a menstrual cycle. That stuff is natural. You shouldn't be shy to talk about it.
Our cycles too is crises. Like when we reach a certain age, like we go through as males, we go through a certain crisis
Mhm,
where we either relapse and become depressed per se between I think around the age of like 21 to like 30, and then we
mhm,
go through it within our 40s. There's like different cycles for men as well. You know, a lot of us are unaware of that. We don't pay attention to it. Like I don't know if you ever take time out to look at your sons when they were younger per se, and see that, you know, they got the stage, they claim it the terrible two stage.
mhm, mhm,
Those are signs of those withdrawals and those cycles that men go through.
mhm.
as well. And as we come into adulthood, we go through those too. You know, sometimes where we don't want to talk to nobody, we may be hurt and depressed, and we stay within ourselves. Whenever somebody come to us and say, "Hey, what's going on with you?" and our first answer is, "I'm good, nothing."
Mm-hmm.
And clearly they can see there's something wrong, but you shun out the world versus speaking up, and that creates turmoil within and make you not only angry, but it causes you to be sick because
Mm-hmm.
that's a health issue.
That's because, and I've talked to my sons about issues like that too. I'm always talking to my children constantly. You know, I'll tell them I'm going to talk to y'all for 10 minutes. They look at me like that's going to be 30 minutes. I say, you know what? I got 2 more minutes to talk to y'all. And they go, Lord, it's another hour. You know what I mean? But I talked to my son, and it's interesting that you said that because society has built up men not to care, men
Machines.
not to have emotions,
Hmm.
men to not have feelings. You know what I mean? Like I've told my sons that men hurt, we anger, emotions. I said men cry. I told him, I said, you had the the tallest, buffest, hardest, fist fighting, karate chopping, gun sneaking guy in the world that cry over something. It doesn't mean that he's less of a man, his emotions, but or even hurt. But society has just deemed us to be rough and tough and nothing hurts us and
A
we can
macho
roll
robot.
Michael, yeah.
A
And you
macho
know,
robot. And we
my
reflect these
children,
things through
my
role
children,
models. Go ahead.
my children have watched me. They know my ups and my downs. Um, they know when I'm troubled. They know when I'm in deep thought about something. Um, they know when I'm getting ready to make a move about something. They know when I'm getting ready to put all my focus in something, and I'll shut them out, tune them out. You know what I mean? Um, they know a lot about me, but not all about me. And I told them, I said, the reason why you don't know everything is I'm always doing something. I'm always moving. Um, so you gotta catch up to me. I told them, I said, I'll be 114 years old and buried and still doing stuff. They go, what you mean? I'm gonna be still doing stuff. Whatever I'm doing is still gonna be moving. You just gotta keep catching up. Don't stop, don't give up, don't give in. Because of the fact I didn't give in, I didn't give up, and I didn't stop.
I notice you have a group called International Fathers. What
Hmm.
inspired you to do this? Was it your fight?
What inspired me to do International Fathers was my fight.
Okay.
When I went through what I went through, um, I thought in my own realm of mind that this is happening only in the black community. When I was going through what I was going through,
Okay.
but as I saw stuff, as I got looking at other issues in court, I said, you know what? This happened to black men, white men, green men, Asian men, wealthy men, poor men, educated men, uneducated men, entrepreneurs, sports figures. It happens to all men,
Okay.
period. That's where that came from. Number one, I looked at the women who supported and admired guys like me, and they was included. You know, um, I've seen some groups and then some I was in and some I've removed myself from because of the fact that they didn't allow women to talk about or women to be a part of.
Mm-hmm.
something that's positive. So I look at the whole spectrum, different races of fathers, and different women who admire. So I named the International Fathers. If you see it behind me, uh, flags are represented around the world. And
Okay.
we all have one thing in common, and that's we're all fathers.
Mm-hmm.
So when I look at that, I said, you know what? It's not just here in East Baltimore. It's not just here in my own community. It's all around. It's on all seven continents.
So you're championing fathers, and speaking on championing fathers, like I stated to you earlier, within the spectrum of society now today, most of us as men, not all, tend to feel like there's not a way. They can't fight. They can't succumb within the system. They can't beat the system, given the fact that you overcame, right?
Hmm.
And you're stronger for it today. You're still a single dad. And I'm pretty sure you have a vast amount of people that value you as well. Because in order for us to be great leaders, we have to be a great follower. And a
Hmm.
lot of people may not get the message within that, but it's for y'all to decipher. What would you say to the men that feeling defeated as a father and feeling like they have no way out or no ear to actually listen to them?
Mm. That's deep. But in short, I would tell them never give up on your children. Never. It's said that the court uses custody battle. It seems like you're fighting for something that's already yours. And the word battle means an intense fight. But I would tell them, don't give up, don't give in, stay in contact, text, messenger, Snapchat, all kind of ways. Um, but but don't give up. I've had two guys in Birmingham, Alabama. This about like maybe 12 years ago. Two in Philly and one in Miami, who looked at the videos that I made. I have a fourth book called A Father's Self Representation, Eliminating the Middleman Attorney. And this book is I call my blueprint, my Bible. This book show you how to represent yourself in court. I've had these guys buy this book and look at the 7 videos and was able to give them more visitation rights or more custody of their children. One guy in Baltimore, he actually was awarded full custody of his son, representing himself just by reading this book.
Through
I
the
say that,
reflection of that book. Okay.
yeah, I say that to say this. I told my children, if my book touched one father in this world, I've done my job. I have done what I was called to do. And as you know, with my show with international fathers in my group, my focus is to give encouragement, is to give inspiration, to empower a father to be a better father to his children. Because it's in all of us to be better. It's in all of us to do better. It's in all of us to be that model for our children. It's in us to just walk the way that we're supposed to walk. It's in us for our children to say, you know what? That's my dad. I'm proud of him. It's in us to just not deep, I mean dig real deep, but to just do what we're supposed to do as fathers. And while there's no book that I've seen that tells you how to be a parent, that says that one gender is better at raising children than the other ones, I believe that we all have our natural gut instincts on how to take care of a child.
And the more we experience, the more we develop too, because the point you just made, and I said it earlier, nobody has the cheat code to this. Even
Yeah.
when we die and they're continuing on our lineage, they don't have the cheat code.
Mm-mm.
It's just a representation of the present and being great within the present as much as you can within the present. And the first thing we need to do is to understand people hurt, and we
Yeah.
also hurt,
Mm-hmm.
and we have to work on eliminating that hurt, because even our queens are a representation of us. So if
Mm-hmm.
we keep clashing and battling back and forth, you know, anger
Mm-hmm.
begets anger and end up hating each other. So now the child is a representation of two broken individual
Yeah.
pieces that can't make one whole. So now they're
Mm-hmm.
gonna go to their partner and they're gonna pass forth these ruptured angers and twist the situation onto somebody else, because not only do they not know how to heal within themselves, they don't know how to pass forth that love also,
Mm.
because you got to love you first in order to aid somebody in loving them,
Yes, sir.
you know. and
Mm-hmm.
and and that's what it is. So that was a great point. Now I can't forget my queens, because what would you say to women of today that feels like a man is not shit? Because that's the title we pretty much wear on a
Mm-hmm.
daily basis due to the unfortunate circumstances of a percentage of
Mm-hmm.
men.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to the queens?
To now, what's the question again?
What advice would you give our queens, our women today? Because you're raising daughters,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And she's a part of that.
Mm-hmm.
Women too also hurt. So what advice would you give them?
Oh man, I could talk about that for probably a long, long time. But first and foremost, I would say to them that if you have a father who is taking care of his child in every way that you could think of, don't mess with the bond. Don't play chess. Don't play mind games. Don't play any games. Let him take care of his child. Another thing that I say, and I just posted this on somebody's comment, that if you've been in 3 relationships and they all ended kind of the same way, and then you say there's no good men around, at that third relationship, you gotta look at yourself. That's both for guys and girls. But I would tell them to be encouraged. You know what I mean? Let this man do what he's supposed to be doing, and you can't take a hurt and pain from a past relationship, as far as the child is concerned,
Mm-hmm.
into this one. You can't take the pain from what your father didn't do and bring that on your child's father. You can't bring none of that pain and hurt thinking that we all the same because of what you've been through. Because at the end of the day, I'm a person and you're a person, but most importantly, we have this child involved, and he or she is really the one that's going to be hurt. If we, like you said, if we and that child sees it, eventually this child is going to be hurt.
Because we're allowing the things that's not okay to be okay,
Yeah.
you know. And we just got to stand in our truths. And I I 100% respect, and I'm honored to have you. And because most of us, I don't know who need to hear it, but most
Mhm.
of us need to hear somebody speak like yourself, or myself going forward. We need motivation. We need upliftment.
Mm-hmm.
We need to be
Mm-hmm.
enlightened. I know that we can speak from now until kingdom come,
Oh
but
man.
in order to change, we have to be the change.
Mm-hmm.
And we represent us within us before we represent us outside of us.
Good
Yeah,
point.
y'all can take the time to decode that.
It's a good point.
It is what it is. And too much time, too many moments in time, we tend to focus on the conditions of what's outside or try to keep up with what's outside versus
Mm-hmm.
the person that's crying within. And we will never be right until we make right with the person within.
Whew. That's that
So
man in the mirror.
so I'm proud to have you to sit down and have this conversation, King.
Thank you, sir.
And and all of this, I close with a summarization, and I would like to you to sum up everything. Tell the audience where they can go to not only find your books, also how they can find you on Facebook and on YouTube.
Got you. I'm on YouTube. I keep everything simple. I'm on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at Nelson M. Moody Sr. I'm on Twitter at INC Fathers with an S. You can Google me, Nelson M. Moody Sr., and you'll find out so much about me. You'll read the magazine that I've been involved in, and you'll read my story. But most of all, you will read nothing but positives. Me, I've always told my children, as well as other people, I wish the best for everybody. You know, it's enough here for everybody to get some. But I'm on, like I mentioned, those social media platforms, and you guys show out there, like to have me as a guest, let me know, let Jermaine know, and we can make that happen.
Also, I don't want to discourage that because you're a vet. I have
I'm a yes.
I have siblings. I have a brother and sister that's in the Navy, and I have one in the Army right
Hmm.
now. So, um, salute to you as well for all that you have actually done and all that you've stood for and fought for pertaining to us because you're a representation of us. Each one teach one. We tend to avoid the fact that because when things happen, oh,
Hmm.
if it don't happen in front of my doorstep, I'm like, that has nothing to do with me. But guess what? When you walk down the street, you're still a so-called black man. You're still a
Hmm.
so-called black woman, right?
Right.
Only us can empower us.
Hmm.
So we have to respect, honor, and cherish not only our elders, but our children's and their children's going forward because we are the guide. And
Hmm.
I know some of us are mad at our ancestors and mad at our elders, but guess what? Our elders paved the way for who we are today. So therefore, every time you see one, you salute one or say gratitude. Thank you goes a long way. Or embrace them with a smile.
And you gotta repeat that one more time because when you said that, somebody who's watching you just answer their phone. Say that one more time.
It's funny, to be honest. I keep these things organic. So
Hmm.
I say them
Got you.
passionately. I
Hmm.
these are things that's not written down. I'm not
Hmm.
quoting something that I memorize. I'm speaking from a
Hmm.
conversational
I can feel it.
perspective because this is me
Yeah.
per se. So I would love to repeat it, but it didn't stick. I didn't do my
Got
10,000 hours.
you.
but
Got you. Got
but
you.
yeah, this is naturally me. And for
Mhm.
those who are wondering how they can communicate with me to not only do what I continuously do or do interviews, you can hit me on Facebook at MEN-talRollaDeK. That's the name of the group. You can also Search for videos on YouTube at MEN-talRollaDeK, and also I'm on IG at MEN-talRollaDeK. Like I stated before, King, it's a pleasure and it's an honor, and I
Thank you.
salute you for the fight that you fought,
Thank
because you're a representation of men and you're a champion. Your story is profound. And for those of you that would like to learn more about Mr. Nelson, you can follow him on YouTube at Nelson L. Moody Sr. Likewise, IG, likewise, Facebook. And looking forward to have you again, man.
you.
It's an honor, King. It's an
Thank you.
honor. And
Thank
keep
you.
doing what you're doing, man. I see you playing music in the kitchen while cooking food for your kids. Keep doing that. Keep that enthusiasm going. Keep staying upbeat. Keep being you. Keep being you. Stay
I
true
can't
to
do
you,
nothing else
man.
but me.
Stay true to you. Can nobody be you better than you? All
Nope.
right, King.
Thank
Positive
you.
energy.
Thank you.
Positive energy.